is no tire there. All right. There's what?
There's blood all over the car. Shotgun shells all over the side.
Yeah. Holy we got a body.
Yeah.
All right, let's cover it.
This is Orono, a rural city in Hennepin County, Minnesota, with a population around 8,200 people. It's located approximately 20 miles west of the Wisconsin border. Orono is where Julissa Thaler lived with her 6-year-old son, Eli Hart, in May of 2022. Eli was born with a genetic disorder which resulted in a few surgeries the first few months of his life. He wore hearing aids and had a few minimal deformities, but otherwise, Eli was a normal kid. The kindergartner attended Shirley Hills Primary School in Mounds, Minnesota. His father, Eli Hart, said he just liked being social, talking and playing with others. He was always happy, outgoing, always full of energy.
6-year-old Eli Hart had an infectious laugh and gap-toothed smile.
Just so energetic and happy and joyful.
Eli loved to blow bubbles, play with cars, go fishing, swing on the swings at the park, and eat meatballs at Carboni's. His mother, Julissa, on the other hand, has a long list of medical records dating back 15 years. She had been in and out of mental institutions since she was 13 years old, where she was diagnosed for depression, mood disorder, and borderline personality disorder. Julissa was repeatedly treated for drugs and alcohol abuse throughout her life, and she ran away from home during her last year of high school, where she lived on the street for 45 days. Little is known, at least I could find very little, about the relationship of Julissa Thaler and Eli Hart's biological father, Eli Hart. I'm unable to confirm whether they were ever married. What is known is that Eli wanted Eli in his life, and he was pursuing custody in May of 2022. Eli had made numerous complaints about Thaler's history of drug abuse and mental health problems, but it was ignored by the courts. Also, due to several false orders of protection filed by Julissa, Eli could not have a relationship with Eli.
Julissa Thaler has been filing reports regarding Eli's dad, Eli Hart, since she was pregnant. In this St. Paul police report, she accuses him of abuse, then later admits, quote, because of her mental health issues, she constantly accuses Hart of things he doesn't do.
Thaler lost custody of Eli for most of the past year after the Dakota County Social Services Department received a report claiming she was presenting with psychosis and hearing voices telling her to harm herself. This was the second time Thaler lost custody of her son. Previously, authorities had temporarily placed Eli in foster care after social workers visited Thaler's home and found Eli naked with nothing to wear in the house but pajamas. Workers said the house was filthy and noted an upper bathroom was flooded. They also found broken eggs smeared throughout the main level. During his time in family foster care, Eli stayed with Julissa's cousin and his wife. Eli was with family. He was loved. Nikita Kronberg, Eli's foster mom, walks to her car at 3 a.m. to go to work. A stalker with binoculars watches.
She sat outside our home in the middle of the night.
The mother now sat in a car watching the boy's foster home. Nikita tried to confront her. The car just sped away.
You know, she's presenting very unstable behavior. CPS warned them many times.
Eli Hart and his wife, Josie, were permitted unsupervised visits with Eli, and the bond between him and his father grew immediately. Eli fell in love with his father, and he loved spending time with him. Eli was excited to make up for all the lost years with his son. He began teaching Eli how to fish and ride a bike with no training wheels. After spending 457 days between county custody and family foster care, court records indicate that Dakota County District Judge Tim Worminger awarded custody to Thaler on a trial basis in December of 2021. This was despite recent concerns about her fitness expressed by a court-appointed guardian and a social worker who met frequently with Thaler, Eli, and other family members. As Julissa continued to show many red flags, Tori tried extremely hard to get custody of Eli. Unfortunately, more false orders of protection were filed by Julissa against Eli's father. This all postponed their custody hearings. During this trial custody period, other numerous parties made many statements to CPS. Fearing that mom would harm Eli if full custody were ever returned, social services reports contain the following.
This reporter is further concerned that Ms. Thaler has not remained law-abiding. She has been cited for numerous traffic violations ranging from speed, careless driving, and using wireless communication devices while driving. 7 separate occurrences between March 15, 2021 to March 10 of 2022. She also has a continued hearing scheduled for June 22 regarding the theft of pharmaceuticals from her clinic.
Another report contained Julissa moved multiple times since this worker took over the case from the previous worker in July of 2021.
This worker has maintained concern about the lack of stability she has had with her housing in such a short period of time. This guardian is very concerned about Ms. Thaler's mental health and how she is impacting her 6-year-old's mental health and well-being, as well as how she is jeopardizing Eli's relationship with his father, who appears to be a stabilizing force in Eli's life.
Other reports included.
During October and November of 2021, Julissa did not attend therapy and had only minimal participation in meetings with her adult rehabilitative mental health service worker.
Both providers previously indicated their concerns to this worker that Julissa lacks insight into her own mental health and behavior. Social workers nevertheless recommended that custody of Eli be returned to Thaler. One recommended that Thaler be awarded full custody, despite misgivings. This same worker said that Thaler also had been neglecting the medical needs of Eli, who had a rare genetic disorder called Townes-Brocks syndrome, which led to kidney disease and hearing problems. She said Thaler failed to make sure her son's hearing aids were in working order and that she often brought him to school late. Still, she writes, there is no current indication that her son is physically unsafe in her care. In a report to the court in the child protection case, one guardian wrote that although she continues to have ongoing concerns regarding Eli's emotional and mental well-being, this reporter does not currently have concerns about Eli's physical well-being in either parent's care at the same time. This guardian expressed concern that Thaler was doing everything she could to prohibit contact between Eli and his father. Even so, this same reporter agreed the case should proceed in family court. All in all, the concerns expressed by the social services are as followed. That the boy's mother, Julissa Thaler, had a history of severe mental illness, yet had stopped seeing her therapist, raising concerns about the boy's own mental health and well-being. She repeatedly had unstable housing, including being forced to move for violating her leases. She failed to complete a parent education program for missing too many classes. She failed to remain law-abiding, including facing a charge for stealing drugs the year before. She failed to sign releases to allow social workers access to Eli's medical records, and, most concerning to the social workers, Thaler was apparently doing anything she could to sabotage the boy's relationship with his father, whom the child's court-appointed guardian said appears to be a stabilizing force in Eli's life. Regardless of all these reports, Julissa Thaler received full custody of her son Eli on May 10, 2022. And it is fair to note that under Minnesota state law, the only way for Tori's custody case to move forward was to close the protection cases. On May 19, 2022, Julissa Thaler shot her son Eli up to 9 times, while the young boy was still strapped in his back passenger booster seat. The following day, she drove around with his body in the trunk of her Chevrolet Impala and threw away some of his remains in a gas station dumpster. These items included his backpack and some of his schoolwork. Police in Orono pulled Thaler over on May 20th after receiving reports of an individual driving without a tire and with a destroyed back window.
That happened over there.
When they conducted the traffic stop, police found that Thaler had flesh pieces on her and that there was blood in her car. There was also a bullet hole in the back seat near where the window was smashed out.
There is no tire there. All right. There's what?
There's blood all over the car.
Thaler attempted to explain the blood on her face and clothes by saying it was from removing a tampon. As for the rest of the blood, she allegedly told police she had deer meat in the car.
I have a broken windshield and I'm missing a tire because some kids were shooting at my car. I had some.
What looks like blood in there?
It's not blood, it's deer meat. I had a big bag there's a farm around here that does deer meat and hamburgers.
Still, police released her, even giving her a ride home because, according to the warrant, Thaler was growing impatient, cold, and refused to sit in the squad car.
Shotgun shells all over the side.
Yeah. Holy we got a body. All right, let's cover it.
It was only after they let her go that police found Eli Hart's body in the trunk. By the time they went back to Thaler's apartment, she'd left with her boyfriend. The two were arrested a short time later. Police tracked Thaler's movements based upon the wheel scraping left by her car. The evidence includes surveillance video from the night before Eli died, showing Thaler leaving the apartment with Eli and a large object wrapped in a blanket, which she put into the trunk of her car. They found that same blanket the next day wrapped around Eli's lifeless body, and next to it, a shotgun with blood on it. All the while Eli was in Thaler's custody in early of 2022, she continued to display paranoia and auditory hallucinations. She made many disturbing Google searches, such as how to keep child away from other parent with visitation, how to fake an insurance claim, car damage. How much blood can a 6-year-old lose? Does a doctor's note prevent a child from parent visitation? Most powerful knockout drug? How much whiskey to give a baby? Most expensive life insurance for child? How much does life insurance pay for dead child? How to fake being home to the cops? How to keep the child from school for a month? Child life insurance policy qualifying accidental deaths. Does life insurance cover drowning? How to commit crime and blame the child? What length allowed to saw off shotgun barrel? Child term life insurance. Life insurance with no income. How life insurance investigates a death claim. Can you take out multiple policies on somebody? However, less than 10 days later, Eli's lifeless body would be found in the trunk of Julissa Thaler's car. With the ongoing custody battle still lingering, many speculate that Julissa would rather see her son die than allow his father to obtain custody of their child. A friend of Thaler's spoke to detectives and said that the young mother had expressed an interest in learning how to use a shotgun. The friend told police Thaler had purchased a shotgun in mid-March of 2022, after which the two had visited a gun range over 2 days so that she could learn how to use the weapon.
Preliminary autopsy results show the boy had been shot as many as 9 times, and investigators say Thaler tried to cover up the crime by washing the clothes she was wearing when it happened and dumping other evidence at several locations around the area.
We were furious that, him being returned custody was even an option, because at that point, with all the red flags, the fact that numerous people were saying they feared for Eli's safety if he was returned to her, and that was ignored. So yes, we absolutely believe that CPS, Dakota County, they failed Eli. I'm feeling hurt. I'm feeling like a failure. I'm feeling numb. I think it's a lot of different emotions.
With a $2 million bail, Julissa Thaler remained in jail until her trial in January of 2023. When rejecting the plea deal, she stated, "I would never do that to my son. I want to go to trial." During the trial, prosecutors presented evidence linking Thaler to the crime, including DNA evidence and cell phone data. In their opening statements, prosecutors said a gun shop witness would testify that days before Eli was killed, Julissa bought 40 shotgun rounds, telling him she wanted ammunition to blow the biggest hole in something. Prosecutors also visited the long list of disturbing Google searches made on Thaler's electronic devices. Meanwhile, the defense argued Julissa would not, could not, did not kill Eli, and urged the jury to think critically and use reason and common sense. Julissa's former boyfriend took the stand and recounted that fateful night in May of 2022 that turned out to be her son's last. Robert Piekeranen told jurors that he and Thaler knew each other in high school and reconnected in 2022 by getting together to do drugs. He was arrested along with Thaler for Eli's death, but quickly released without being charged. Pickering testified that he went with Thaler to pick up 6-year-old Eli Hart from school on May 19th. He recalled feeding Eli pizza, playing with kittens in Thaler's apartment, and getting ready to play Xbox when things took a turn. Pickering became emotional, struggling to hold back the tears while describing the events that unfolded with Eli, wide awake at 11 p.m. on a school night. He stated, "We started playing with the kittens, and Eli was getting rowdy and Mom didn't like it. She was hitting him, then Eli was hitting her. They were fighting, so she put the shotgun in the car and she came back up. I was lying in her bed. She grabbed Eli and went downstairs. I fell asleep and woke up the next morning between 8 and 8:30, and I asked her, 'Where did you go?' She was kind of like, 'I had to go do something.'" Pickering told the court he assumed Eli was at school. He said Thaler mentioned something about the police, and he asked what she was talking about. They eventually left the apartment. "She stopped right there by the lake," he said, "and she wouldn't tell me what was going on, why cops were there." He then told prosecutor Dan Allard he had no idea why they were taken into custody. Defense attorneys pressed Pickering. "She told you she wanted the gun for protection, right?" Pickering said, "Yes, she did." "She mentioned that multiple times?" "Yes." Then the defense attorney addressed Pickering's statement to the police. "You told police you didn't think she could hurt Eli?" He said, "I didn't think so, no, she was a sweet person." Pickering's testimony hurt the defense badly. A DNA expert also took the stand and testified that blood found in Julissa Thaler's hair on May 20th was a match with Eli's blood. The defendant told Judge Jay Quam that she would not take the stand to testify on advice from her attorneys, and the defense rested its case without calling a single witness. In closing arguments, Thaler's defense attorney, Brian Leary, acknowledged she participated in the boy's death, but said she was not the one who shot him.
Do begin with some breaking news. Within the last hour, a jury has reached a guilty verdict in the murder trial of Julissa Thaler.
The jury deliberated for less than 2 hours on February 8, 2023, before finding her guilty of first-degree premeditated murder. Thaler sat with her defense team as victim impact statements were read by Eli's stepmother, Josie, and his aunt, Nikita, who had fostered and provided him love and stability while he was removed from Thaler's custody.
Your Honor, everyone knows Eli Hart as the victim of this senseless and horrific crime. But Eli was so much more. Eli was an amazing 6-year-old boy who always woke up full of energy and laughter. He was kind, made friends easily, loved reading books. Eli had a love for animals that was very special. Eli explored, played outside, fished with his dad. Eli was an innocent, loving 6-year-old boy. He did not deserve this. Eli deserved to grow up and have a safe and happy life. We know these things about Eli because he was our little boy, our son, the center of our world.
How could someone do an evil thing to an amazing, loving kid? Why would she end the life of her own child? She knew that Tori and Eli wanted Eli, so why did she not give custody and let Eli be happy?
The love and connection he had with his son, that Tori had with his only son, was something I was privileged to see. You could see the love and bond they shared every second they were together. They had this extra spark between them that everyone could see. Now we only have memories, and they are not enough.
Eli's father, Tori, was too shattered with emotions to speak. Instead, his wife read his words.
Time was taken from us, a lifetime of memories to be made gone. No one should ever have to feel this kind of pain or experience this kind of trauma. But we have been sentenced to a lifetime of this pain, confusion, grief, sorrow, and trauma. A lifetime without Eli. The little boy who would laugh and giggle and squeal so hard when he and his dad would play at the park. It's a sound I hope never fades from our memory. The little boy that loved being on his dad's shoulders. The little boy who, when we asked him, "Who loves you the most?" would always reply, "You both do." There are no more triple hugs. No more "I love you." No more memories to be made. Just emptiness. Eli was a happy 6-year-old boy, our little boy, that we loved so deeply.
Both spoke of how the world knows Eli as a murder victim, but insist he is so much more.
Go back in time and go visit Eli, give him one last hug and kiss. One last time of seeing that big toothless smile. One last time of hearing his giggles. One last time of saying, "Goodnight, pumpkin." Why would she kill Eli? If she didn't want him, she should have given him to Tori. Eli will forever be missed by so many people that loved him. He will forever and always be in our hearts.
You're living out the nightmare of every parent, the worst nightmare of every parent. There's a difference between us, though, Tori. I couldn't do what you did. I couldn't if I lost my son.
At her sentencing, Thaler maintained her innocence and made a profane statement to the court.
Ms. Thaler, you have a right to speak this morning if you'd like. You don't have any obligation to speak, but if you'd like to choose to speak, now is the time to do it.
Yes, I would like to say something.
Go ahead.
I'm innocent. Fuck you all. You're garbage. That's all, Your Honor.
Ms. Thaler, I don't know that that's appropriate here.
Sorry I told you what somebody else can.
What I would say is, the worst thing that seems to happen to parents is to lose their child. It's worse, though, when you don't lose your child to something like cancer or an accident. It's when someone takes that child from the world. What I can't imagine, nobody can imagine, is when the person that takes a child from the world is the one that brought that child in. But that is what the jury concluded you did, and I respect the jury's judgment, and I respect Minnesota's decision about what the appropriate consequence is. Nothing I do would bring justice to this situation. Nothing I do would relieve any of the pain that you caused by doing that. But what is, according to law, the just and fair sentence for what you did is what Mr. Allard said, and that is life in prison without the possibility of parole. So I will judge you guilty of first-degree murder and issue that sentence. I will not impose any sentence.
I can't hear you over your stomach grumbling. I'm sorry.
Bottom line is that you are being sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, Ms. Thaler. I'm not going to impose any kind of fine or fees, and will require that you submit a DNA sample. As I mentioned, I'll keep restitution open for 60 days. There's a tag that miscommunicates. I'm going to dismiss that in the interest of justice. With that, is there anything else, Mr.
The Hennepin County Attorney Mary Moriarty said the following. Eli's brutal murder is one of the most horrific cases I have encountered in 30 years working in the criminal legal system. Nothing will ever fill the emptiness Eli's father and other loved ones now live with every day. But I am hopeful this verdict will make it just a bit easier to remember Eli as the toothless, happy, smiling little boy we have seen in photos.
On behalf of Eli's family, Tori Hart would like to thank the jury, the court, the Hennepin County Attorney's Office, and Justice Partners for their good work. This is a tragic and heartbreaking event that could have been avoided if Eli had never been returned to a dangerous home.
Eli's family says their hope is to begin healing while carrying out his legacy. They've already started a foundation in his honor and are fundraising to build a playground at Seaside Park in Mound. A place not just to honor him, but they say to honor all kids who deserve a happy childhood.
Local station, KARE 11, ran a report of their investigation into Child Protective Services actions and responses during Eli's case. They found the child protection system, and not just the mom, is responsible for his death.
During the 11 months Eli lived with Nikita and Stephen, Records reveal Julissa missed and tampered with drug tests, was arrested for stealing needles and pain meds, stopped going to therapy, and was so disruptive got kicked out of drug testing. Supervised visits with Eli went poorly. In one, on October 27th, Julissa dug her fingernails into a social worker's hand and threw garbage on her.
Bye. Bye. When he would come back from Julissa's, his hair would be matted. His hair would be really greasy, so she wasn't bathing him or brushing his hair.
His clothes would stink. It was terrible.
Dakota Child Protection could have filed for a transfer of custody to give Eli to his dad, but despite all the red flags, decided to give Julissa more chances. There was nothing but red flags when it came to Julissa. The very first day the boy went back to his mom, CPS was warned in an email from Eli's school how teachers are all addressing large concerns, flagging Julissa's speed and reckless driving in the school parking lot. Over the next 5 months, records reveal Eli's caseworkers took Julissa off drug testing, did not confirm she was going to required parent counseling, and when a teacher reported, Eli said his mom heard him, did not even investigate. One of the last times a social worker laid eyes on Eli, she sent a text saying, "I can't imagine what she's putting that child through right now," but they did not think he was being physically abused. So they closed the case. Eli's foster parents cling to reminders of the boy they believe child protection could have saved.
It's a system that needs to be changed.
Carol Levin obtained hundreds of never-before-seen CPS emails and texts, along with videos and case reports that reveal not a few, but a myriad of failures to protect Eli.
Shotgun shells all over the side.
Yeah.
10 days later, the same day police processed a car with a shotgun-riddled body in the trunk, the CPS worker who didn't yet know about the murder entered her final notes in Eli's file. There were no protection issues that required ongoing child protection placement or involvement.
I truly believe that if CPS had done their job and protected Eli, he would still be here today.
Thank you for watching. Please do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe so you can be notified when we upload our next weekly video.